have on who seems to be a guy that's like a second or third co-host on the show at this point. You've been here times where I haven't been, and times where I have been, and this is like number 5, 6, 7. So, Sirles, welcome back, buddy. Always good to see you.
Oh my gosh, I got the text of the invite back, and I was tickled pink to be back with the boys. I mean, it's never a bad time to be on this pod, that's for sure.
You are. I think you have at least 2 or 3 over the next most frequent guest.
I'll take it.
Yeah,
you're our AJ Hawk, dude.
Made a lot less money, but sure, I'll take it.
Going, man.
It's good. It's funny. There's actually, I might have mentioned this last time, but there's one of the girls that used to babysit us, huge Hawkeye fan, and her mom listens to the show religiously, and so I always get a text whenever I'm on the show. She's like, "Oh, I heard you on Walk-Ons." I was like, "Oh, I love it. I love it so much."
That's funny as hell, man. Shout out to the Walk-On Army out there.
Man, you gotta have them, man. Gotta have them. No, I've been good. Grinding away here. I got 3 kiddos now, so bouncing that, and then we just got through the draft, which was huge.
How many dudes did you get drafted?
We had 2. We had 2 drafted. We had a 2nd-round pick that went to the Giants, and then a 5th-round pick that went to the Colts, and then 5 free agents that all signed PFA deals. So 7 for 7 on the agency, which is awesome. Now
is this year number 1 or year number 2?
2. Year number 2. We had a 4th-rounder last year, and then now we're just already on to 2024, starting to get my summer recruiting schedule down of making the rounds, and I'm trying to break myself into Iowa, so I'm going to try and keep cracking at that door. But man, there's some agents that got that place on lock. It is tough to get into.
Yeah, it's like 2 or 3 guys got.
There's this guy named Neil and this guy named Jack, and they got handcuffs on the place.
Yes, they do, and I'm noticing that more and more. I try and break in, and they're like, "I don't know if I can." And all of a sudden, it's like Jack Betcha signed 7 Iowa Hawkeyes this recruiting cycle. Oh, got it. What about you? What have you guys been up to?
Is that pretty common around a lot of the other schools, that there's like a handful of guys that kind of have really good relationships in there and kind of dominate the space, or is that unique to Iowa?
The SEC a little bit more. Like CAA has an office in Tuscaloosa, like trying to get into Tuscaloosa because they represent Saban.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like to try and get into Alabama, and you're going to have to break out your checkbook big time to try and get inside an Alabama player. The SEC is a little different animal, but for the most part, not really. A lot of it is based off of like the last prior 2 years, as far as like what you've done in that school.
Sure.
And from an agent's perspective, you want to make sure that regardless if the guy's a first rounder or a priority free agent, you take care of him, because the last thing you need is you screw a guy, you don't take care of a guy, you're a poison pill at that school for the next 4 years.
Sure.
Right. Like, because they're going to come back and tell their buddies, like, "Oh, no, don't sign with that guy. He lied to me, or he did X, Y, Z, So it's always trying to just make sure that you're like, whatever school you go into, you have a really good rapport with the players who would they're your best recruiter. Right. Like the player talking to another player and be like, "No, this guy did right by me. He did everything he said he was going to do. He helped me get better, yada, yada, yada." Like, that's our best recruiting tool.
Yeah, and I know a bunch of the guys we played with heard from other former guys like that were working with that same agent, putting in a good word for their guy, I'm sure. And I'm sure that's what you're trying to build up here. Take me through like your recruiting pitch process though, especially being like only 1 or 2 years into it. Like how are you trying to pitch these guys coming out versus the guys who've been doing it for 10 plus years, 20 plus years? Because it's some like crazy stat. There's like 3 times as many agents as there are spots in the NFL or something like that.
Yeah, it's wild. Everyone wants to be an agent until you realize how expensive it is. But the pitch really, yeah. I mean, it's dead serious. Like I tell people all the time, they're like, "What is?" I'm like, "It's a higher form of gambling." It's like, "Hey, I'm gonna bet 15 grand that this kid's gonna be able to let me feed my children." Right. And then your heart just starts racing come the draft and then come cut time. But for us, we're a little different. So Zach Zenner, he played running back for the Lions for 5 years in the NFL. He played running back at South Dakota State. Him and I are the only 2 agents that are certified that I know of that played recently in the last decade.
Oh, really?
So yeah. So for us,
That's cool.
it's a lot more of like, hey, we've been where you want to go. We know what it takes. Both of us were undrafted, so we understand that you have to claw and dig and grind for everything. And regardless if you're a draft pick or not, we're going to instill that undrafted mentality in you, because that's where the good ones become great. So we talk a lot about that. We focus a lot on football.
We call it the walk-on mentality around here, so please.
I love it.
Respect on our name.
Hey, I'm all about it. I was a walk-on into the NFL. It's the same thing.
Let's go.
So we just talk about, we focus a lot on football. I think a lot of agencies try and like out sports market each other. It's like, oh, I'm going to get you this deal. Oh, I'm going to get you that deal. It's like, yeah, cool. Did he play? Because if he didn't play, no one wants to do any sports marketing. So we really take a football first approach to that, which has been really receptive to some. To others, we never get a second meeting, but that's just kind of goes to what I recruit: O-linemen, tight ends, running backs, linebackers, some D linemen, very hit or miss on those, but I stay away from the edges. I don't touch corners. I don't touch receivers. I'll touch a quarterback every now and then.
You probably got a little less drama to deal with then that way too.
Oh my gosh, dude. Drama and just like the neediness. And I mean, I hated receivers and DBs when I played, and like, honestly, like it's a profiling game a little bit. Like, what am I going to sit across this, like the screen from like this? If we're on a recruiting Zoom call and you're a corner at Vanderbilt or you're a corner at Tennessee, like, what am I going to say to you that's going to be like, oh yeah, I want to sign with that guy? Like we can pitch it, but at the end of the day, like they're just different breeds. The edges, the receivers, the DBs, they're just a different breed of player.
I mean, yeah, it is crazy, right? Because you're playing the same sport, but at the same time, it's completely different sport.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I can't evaluate a corner. Like, oh yeah, he ran really fast and jumped really high. Like that's good, but like, is he technically any good? Like, can he read coverages? Like, I can look at a O-lineman and I can look at a linebacker and I can be like, okay, he's gap sound or he has the techniques. Like, so it's a lot about that. Like, again, it's gambling, but I want to make sure I'm making the safer bets that I can.
What is the risk to you if you sign a kid who doesn't end up getting drafted or signed, like free agency?
Yeah, so we don't have a ton. We have some like kind of payback clauses for like our training and whatnot, but majority of the time we treat it as hey, this is our investment in you. If this doesn't work out, then that's on us. You just eat it, because I think I have a really hard time with guys that'll sign guys and then be like, if you don't make it, you got to pay me back. It's like, well, what's the point? Like, you got to have some skin in the game too here. Like, you need to be hustling. You need to be grinding on the phones and talking to GMs, talking to scouts. Like, you got to have some skin in the game. So we always like to let our players know, like, hey, we got skin in the game with you too. We believe in you, because as most people know, the NFL, you don't have a ton of people in your corner. So you want to make sure that your agent's always in your corner.
For sure, man. For sure. Well, man, it's exciting to see you getting up and running now. Not a big old class. So is this like your busy time of the year just kind of passed now that you got them all signed? Now you just kind of have to wait till like around camp time if anybody has to find a new home or something like that?
Yeah, the first 3 weeks after the draft are kind of our chill time, right? Like it's a 4-month sprint. I was on the road 41 days between January and April. So on the road a ton. It's a sprint, but then you kind of take a deep breath, but then you want to build off your momentum that you had from the draft in the recruiting cycle. So last time we talked, I told you that we were talking about opening up an O-line specific gym up in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
We've done that now. And now we actually have our second annual camp on Wednesday, this upcoming week. I'm not sure when this pops, but on Wednesday, the 17th. And we have guys coming in from Wisconsin, Illinois. We invited 2 Iowa guys. They're not coming. We got 15 linemen coming in from across the country. We have Eric Galco from the Shrine Bowl that's going to come and speak. Jim Nagy from the Senior Bowl is going to come in. We have a rep from the NFLPA coming to come in. Just talk to these kids, mentor these kids, and help them, what it's going to be as they head into their last season to give themselves their best chance. Then obviously try and use this in recruiting too. Talk to those guys about how we can help them. So that's up and running up in Minneapolis, which is super fun.
We're seeing the Nebraska hate really does run deep, dude.
Hey, listen, I don't have any Nebraska guys to invite. I didn't invite any of the Nebraska guys because we don't have any.
But you invited 2 Iowa guys? Have you seen our offensive line lately?
They're young players.
Oh, good.
They're up and comers.
They improved significantly.
Hey, listen, if there's one thing we can have some relate on this podcast, it's the terrible O-line plays from our alma maters here.
And what could possibly be more frustrating? I didn't even play offensive line, but when you have a defense just has everybody on lock and then you watch your offense, it's just.
I mean, it literally was like, okay, as long as they don't score 17 points, we're gonna win. Like it was like a race to 17.
Yep.
I'll say this: that South Dakota State game made me want to put freaking nails through my eyeballs watching that Iowa South Dakota State game.
I mean, dude, when you got the home fans booing when you're winning the game, that's when you know, right?
Yeah.
It just goes to show, like, I don't think there is one position group that can be more detrimental to your team if that position group is subpar than the offensive line? There's just nothing you can do with terrible offensive line.
No, you can have all the skilled players in the world. I mean, that was kind of our story at Nebraska last year. Everyone's like, oh, you guys got Trey Palmer and Casey Thompson and all these playmakers. And I was like, we didn't address the one glaring issue, which is if he only has 1.5 seconds to throw the football, I don't care if Jerry Rice is running down the field. It doesn't matter. So I'll be curious to see what Nebraska does. Also curious to see what Iowa does. But, boys, the Big Ten is going to look different this year. Like, Wisconsin coming out in a spread offense is going to blow people's minds with Luke Fickell up there. Like, the Big Ten, I think, is going to be a whole different
We've got a quarterback and a tight end from Michigan, a receiver from Ohio State. Half
Watch
of our
out for
team
the Hawks,
is,
baby.
Come on now. Half our team is from different.
We need some offensive linemen to have some growing to do, but the Hawks might be all right again this year.
I think we brought in an offensive lineman from somebody too.
That's true.
Yeah, but as you know, Drake, you build offensive line from within. You have to. Like, that's why you don't see big O linemen don't hit the portal, because if you have them, you don't let them go, right? Like, everyone's like, oh, go to the portal, find O linemen. It's like, if they're in the portal, it's probably because they weren't starting at the school that they were at. That's
or they started at a school that was much smaller.
Correct.
Correct. Like if some guy's playing at UTEP and then Oklahoma offers them.
Yeah, I mean, they're the tackle from San Diego State just transferred to Ohio State.
There you go.
Right, like you see those type of things, but you never really see. Yeah, you don't see a ton of Power 5 within Power 5 O linemen transferring.
How do you think the Fickell situation is going to work out at Wisconsin? Kind of like a different philosophy from what they've had in the previous years. No.
Yeah, very. I'll be curious to see if he goes square peg round hole. Or if he's like, no, it's spread my offense, and we're just gonna keep doing what I'm doing, or if he's gonna be like, listen, here's what the pieces that I have right now. Like, I have a power style players. Like, I can't just spread everyone out. Like, unless he told all his offensive linemen to drop 30 pounds and be able to run a spread hurry up offense, it's not gonna work. Right? Like, it's just not going to work. So I think you'll see a little bit of a blend, but I'll be really curious to see what that looks like. But it's going to be, I bet you they throw the ball more than they run the ball in the first part of the year, which is going to be extremely interesting, especially when you have a guy like Braylon Allen standing back there.
Yeah.
He cannot be.
Do they have a quarterback in the portal at all? Do you know?
No, I don't know who their starting quarterback is. I'm sure they went and got someone, but because Merritt's is where now? Where did he transfer to? Graham Merritt's? Or is he still there? Or did he transfer?
I think he transferred.
Dude, I can't even keep up with all these kids anymore. It's literally like free agency by about 1,000.
He's got some pretty bad tape, so not real concerned with where he.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if he transferred, he was one of those that we call transferring down. Like, hey, FAU, you need a quarterback? Sweet.
I need out of town. Yeah. Do you? So if you I'm actually really curious about this.
Yeah.
You might know, having dealt with NFL GMs and coaches and scouts these days. What is the NFL point of view on a player that has like multiple transfers under their belt? Do they see that as a negative, or obviously you have the rare breed of the guys who transfer from San Diego State to Ohio State, right? Okay, yeah, guys going to go play better competition. Well, what is a guy goes Power 5 to Power 5, really kind of a lateral move. Is there any sort of point of view on that around the league, consensus wise? Like, this is a bad thing, this is a good thing, or?
All it does is it creates guys to have to do more background check on you. I think that if you have a guy that transfers, especially a multiple transfer guy, right? Like an Oliver Martin, right? Yeah. Michigan, Iowa, Nebraska, like, it's one of those things where they're going to evaluate him as a player, but they're going to have to take a deeper dive into try and figure out the kid's makeup.
Yeah, right? Why isn't this kid working out at this culture and this culture? At some point, it's
but
not.
Then you got Charlie Jones. Boom, boom.
Yes.
Oops, almost Blitnikoff.
Right. It just causes more work, I think, for the scouts. I think they view it as just like, okay, I have to do some more research on this guy. I need to talk to more people about it. And it can go either way. Like, I think it can be really helpful for kids. It can also be a detriment. I think a lot of it is so much is on-field play. 90% of it is on-field play. Absolutely. And then there's that 10% of the kid makeup in the pre-draft process of, guys can really tank themselves, a la DeJuan Jones from Ohio State this year, goes to the Senior Bowl, practices one day, doesn't finish the rest of the week. Everyone had him projected as a first, falls to the third. So there's a ton of stuff in the pre-draft process you can catch yourself up on, but the transfer portal itself, I still think is a good thing. I do like the rule that if you transfer twice, you have to sit out a year now, because then that'll kind of stop the madness a little bit. That'll make kids really stop and think about, like, is this worth missing an entire year of my eligibility to jump ship twice?
For sure. Yeah. No, interesting, man.
Well, I got to know, Drake. So, jiu-jitsu. What's the end game here? Are you going to be professionally fighting? Is it a
MMA
hobby?
right now.
What are we doing?
I'm training MMA right now, and I'm just gonna see how it goes, man. I'm most interested in getting my black belt in jiu-jitsu because I'd love to coach it someday. Jiu-jitsu is one of the coolest things ever. The way that you like play chess with body leverage. It's the coolest. My mind loves it. So I would love to be a jiu-jitsu coach someday. And to do that, I want to get my black belt, obviously. But in that process, would love to fight. And so I took 2 fights last year and the other guy backed out. So I still have yet to get in the cage. Going to try and do so in September, I think. And
where at?
See if
I will very much try and make that.
Arizona. It should be in Arizona. Right. Yeah. The last one.
Let me know. You let me know. Right. I will definitely try and make that. I think that it's such a fascinating sport. Like football, you got to be a special kind of crazy, but to get in a cage with another human, like you got to be borderline psychotic. Which I know you well enough that you are.
Yeah, I mean, but then when you actually learn how to fight, you realize how fighting is so much less of like playing fullback than it is playing quarterback. Fighting and playing quarterback are the same things.
Interesting.
You have to read, react, and pull the right trigger at the right time.
I've never got to ask a fighter this. Like, is your mentality and I know you haven't walked into the cage yet, but like walking into the cage, is it like I want to hurt this other person, or is it like I need to kill this other person? Like mentality wise, like is it like kill or be killed, or is it just like tactful, like you said? Because I've always been
for
under the
me,
impression,
I'm always thinking about the skills when I'm in there. I'm like thinking about what do I do? Like I'm too busy trying to win rounds and stuff when I spar than I am thinking about like I want to hurt the guy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think that'd be any different in an actual fight though? Like,
I'm
obviously your sparring partners, your friends, your buddies,
right?
You train with, right? You obviously don't want to hurt them, but like
you have to be in the mindset that when you're going into a fight, you have to be in the mindset that you're willing to hurt the person. Like you're going in there to hurt the person until the ref stops it. I mean, it is a fight at the end of the day. Like, you know what you're signing up for. But from what I've experienced and from what I've talked to my friends who are professionals, especially the good ones, their intentions when they're in there is not to just kill this person. It is to win the fight. Do whatever it takes to win the fight, and that's it. So, yeah, it's more like playing quarterback and trying to dissect everything that's going on in front of you, except instead of linebackers, it's fists and kicks and shit.
Have you got an agent yet?
No, I haven't, but I might be looking.
Want to get in the MMA game?
Hey, I might dabble. I'll see if there's probably not a ton of certification you need for that.
No, dude.
Hey, this guy wants to fight this other guy. Oh, cool. Let's set it up.
It'd be cool. Dude. My 3%.
No, because I always try and relate. I'm trying to get in the minds of. It's something I've been doing is like other professional athletes' mindsets when they walk into different things, right? Like a golfer or a fighter or an NHL player or a football player, like, because I don't know if you guys talked to like this generation of kid that's coming up is so different than even what we were just a decade ago.
Yeah.
Like the killer instinct of like, I'm going to kill myself until I complete the task, right? You said I'll win the fight at all costs, or I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that there's not someone that's going to outwork me, or any of those things. Like, there's so many roundabout ways that people try and get to those things today. And like, especially in younger kids, like I have a buddy who played in the MLB that coached high school baseball, that like the kids just like, they cared more about their hitting percentage than they did if they won the game. And like, it was just, it's such a like secondhand thing. And you're seeing more and more of that in the NIL and the transfer portal and all the stuff that we just talked about relates to that. I mean, from a football side, but like I always try and see, is that mentality also creeping into other sports?
I'm glad to hear that you say that you feel that about the transfer portal, because that's how I feel about it. Like, it's nice when your team gets good transfers, and I'm not going to sit here and not act like I'm not happy that we now have Cade McNamara playing quarterback for us. Like, so pot calling kettle black here, but it's a quitter's mentality that's being formed by that shit.
Or is it just like a me over we mentality? Is that
I think that's I think it's more of a me over we mentality. Like, it was always about, for me and for our team, and it was win. Like, I don't care. Like, I could have 5 MAs and whatever. Like, all will be forgiven at the end of the game as long as we win, right? And I'm going to beat the crap out of myself if I have those MAs and we lose the game. But there's this mentality that's just creeping into kids of like the "what have you done for me lately" mentality, and it drives me nuts because the league is not a "what have you done for me lately" league. You know, it's a win at all costs or we're going to cut you. And so, like, I've been pulling different players of different sports of like, what is your makeup? How do we relate to these kids? And how are we relating to the young players that are trying to do these things? And it's a really fascinating game. I do not envy college coaches. Like, college coaches trying to recruit
like babysitters now.
Because you have to recruit your kids when they're still there. Like, they're still there, and you recruited them all the way through the process, but you still have to like nurture and baby, or else they're just going to jump ship on you. And it's such a bizarre world to live in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember like back. Yeah, obviously, fuck, we're gotten that old.
We're old, dude. We're
in the day, back in our day. That there was like an extreme de-recruitment process from the moment you stepped on campus.
Extreme.
About like your first year, right?
Process.
Yes.
It's like you were talked up. Everyone was sucking your ass for the last 3 years of recruitment. Not us, but scholarship players.
Yeah, but it still hit us. You could go from not being recruited to super not being recruited.
Exactly, and then. The next year you're getting told about how fucking hard it's going to be. You're not that good. You need to work, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And sit down, shut up, and work. And now it's like, hey, sit down but work a little bit. But we still want to rub your back and make sure everything's okay so that you don't leave. And it's awful. It's awful.
Yeah, the college coaches just have so much to deal with these days, and then on top of that, again, it's just a different generation of kids, right?
Yeah, I mean, any one of us here that got the kind of money these kids are getting, we'd all be in
I have
terrible
no idea
places.
What I would do as a college student making even $40,000 a year. Like, I don't even know what you do with that.
I'd be flashing Glocks like John Morant.
Dude, twice, not once, but twice.
I just have guns and bitches.
I would have had a platinum pass to every strip club.
There's like 2 in like
all of the strip clubs in Eastern Iowa.
Yeah, Iowa City's
that means I only got to
right
have 2 platinum passes.
There'd be a special bell that went off in the back when Drake walked in.
Dude, Drake.
But I mean, seriously though, like we got our scholarship checks, and those were close to $2,000 a month, right? That paid for your rent, utilities. All your food was free. What else were you paying for? What are you going to do with an extra $1,000 a week? I mean, honestly, no idea.
I've heard stories from scouts and stuff that talk about like what some of these kids in the portal demand, or even what some of these kids in high school demand now. The number one recruit a couple of years back, I think he was going to Tennessee. This guy was telling me a story that it might have been him. Coming out of high school, they called and they said, all right, what's it going to take to sign this guy? And again, this is all hearsay. I don't know if this is true or not, but they said the dad was handling it. And the dad goes, okay, the going rate is $500,000 when he signs his national letter of intent. Another $500,000 when he walks on campus in the summer. We want new Jeeps from him, new Jeeps for mom and dad, and then we want private use of your guys' private plane to fly us to every one of his games. And they said, sure, and did it. Like, could you imagine being 18 years old and be like, hey, here's $1 million? Like, these kids are making more money than they are going to make in the league. Like, that's why you see quarterbacks rolling back. Like, the North Carolina quarterback should have went to the NFL. He's going to be like a 4th-round pick. He's like, I'm going to make $2 million next year. Why would I leave? It's insane.
Exactly. Safe choice, right?
He's going to be
the craziest part of that for me is like the PJ thing. It's like, I can understand some donors shoveling out some cash, but the big boosters want to use the PJ on themselves in game weekends, I'm sure.
Yeah. Nope, just flying them out from wherever they're from. It's wild, dude. Because there's no governing body.
He's
Zero.
the quarterback. You got to remember that. Like,
Who
if you're
gives
a
a
booster
shit?
that really no, I'm telling Kevin. Like, if you're a booster that
Okay.
really wants to win and you have the capability now to just pay him whatever you want, you're like, finally, I can pay for the dude I want. Take my jet. I'll pick your parents up on a tarmac. We'll take my jet.
I mean, all I'm saying is if the team ends up winning a national championship, that guy better get a ring too.
For sure.
I agree.
But what it's also doing is it's giving those guys power.
Influence,
The collectives, right? These collectives that are forming, they have so much pull. It's ridiculous how much pull they have because the donors are the money, right?
Dude,
And
if the donor who sold the quarterback who wins the national championship, he's now got a platinum pass to every single one of the massage parlors in town for the rest of eternity.
Easy, Robert Kraft.
Deshaun Watson style.
Easy.
No, it's interesting you say that because we've had our guy who runs our collective over here. His name's Brad, and he said something similar. He's like, these collectives are going to be more powerful than the athletic departments here in the next 5 to 10 years.
They're going to be front offices.
Yeah.
They're front offices.
They already are.
Yeah, and guess what? If all of a sudden the front office doesn't like the head coach anymore, they'll just say, "Hey, this spigot that's just funneling money to you, off."
I heard that's what happened.
Is,
I heard that's what happened in Lincoln.
Where are the donors going to put their money, right? Are they going to put it with the collective that they know goes directly to getting better athletes, which translates to better, more on-field performance, more wins, etc. Or are they going to
the athletic department where it spreads it everywhere?
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Nope. It's. I mean, I think I talked about it when I think we jumped on when we said the Big Ten. I mean, the last maybe when they canceled it during COVID, and we were all talking about how the NCAA is just a means to an end, anyways. Like it's not far off. It's not far off.
What's it even doing these days?
I mean, when we were in school, they had the biggest hammer of all time, and they could wield that thing. And if you took a freaking penny from a leper and you took it, they just boom, ineligible, right? Like they did.
How about Soviet Russia coming to the ground right in front of us, baby?
Dude, just the wall crumbling, right? Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall, right? Like there's nothing they can do. They have zero teeth. Zero teeth. They'll be like, hey, that looks like a violation. Piss off. You don't matter anymore.
Eat my balls.
That's exactly like the NCAA does nothing anymore besides set up the tournaments.
You know how Twitter, Elon ravaged Twitter's total employees, and like 80% of them got like laid off or whatever. I feel like that's what happened to the NCAA. You walk into the NCAA and you just go by like a bunch of cubicles and you're like, what do you guys do? And they're like, yeah, we don't know.
Are you guys Succession fans? Do you watch Succession? Any of you?
That's on my list. That's like my next thing to watch.
Well, there's a scene where like he's walking around the floor and he's like standing behind this guy, like the boss, right? He's standing behind the guy and the guy's at the computer and he's sitting there and he's just staring at him. And the guy comes up and he goes, "What are you doing?" He goes, "One fucking email. This guy's got one fucking fire." Right? It's just like that's exactly what's happening in the NCAA. Like you do nothing. You sit there. Like all those compliance officers. The compliance officers, like, the second this happened, they were like, well, my job just got a whole lot easier. I don't have to do anything. Nothing's illegal anymore. Nothing.
My brother does that for the NAIA, actually. That's what he is.
Okay, so
he's not a compliance. He's not a compliance officer, but I mean, he deals with incoming students and transfers and their eligibility to the new school.
So is that what compliance does now? Is there kind of like the transfer portal guys?
I think most of their responsibility has fallen on, is this person, like, is the academics in order? Are all the transfer paperwork good to go? Class requirements, are they caught up here? Are they caught up there? And like, that's about it. As far as that, like the only other thing I can think of what the NCAA actually does is, I mean, they have other functions I'm sure that we could come up with, but like the main one now is just basically putting on the championships for every sport. Other than that, it's
being a bitch. I think that's on their list.
I think that's somewhere in the boardroom. Yeah,
It's crazy.
But again, if the Power 5 conferences wanted to create their own entity, that's something that they could very easily do themselves.
And those would be highly sought after positions too.
Oh my gosh! I mean, imagine you had a commissioner. Like you basically like you take the example and you take the blueprint of what the XFL and the USFL is. And you just turn it to college athletics, right? You just turn it to college athletics. Like, okay, you're now a feeder league to the NFL. You all get paid. You all go to school still, but like you're now employees of X company. And then the group of 5 schools are just absolutely hammered. They're done. Like they got no chance anymore. That's where it becomes the problem.
Yeah. It's interesting. You mentioned the XFL, USFL. Does the Sirles Agency of Success give a shit at all? Have anything to do with those 2 leagues, or are you primarily focused on the NFL?
Yeah, we actually had a player in the XFL this year. I think that it's a good place for players to go and get tape. If you get cut after the preseason as a rookie and you really have very minimal tape, your only way to get back into the league is to get more tape. So I think it's good for that. I think it's good to be able to put some money in some kids' pockets. I also think it's somewhat of a reward. These guys work all their college. They work so hard in the pre-draft process, get released. Like you want to still play football, at least for a year, right? Like, so it allows you to actually get a season of football in, and then you can decide from there, like, okay, I've chased this for now almost a full calendar year. Now what do I want to do? And the XFL, I think it said it had over 65 rookie minicamp guys get invited for tryouts, which is awesome. I've seen like Ben DiNucci from the Seattle Sea Dragons signed with the Denver Broncos today. So I do think there's going to be opportunities, but I do think that there's a lot of guys in that league that just finished up that thought they were going to get opportunities, and it's just there's not enough seats at the table. Like there just never is.
I think that's the way it is with a lot of feeder leagues, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have to imagine. You look at baseball. There's
AAA. There's 3 single A leagues, double A, triple A is like, there's 5 teams for each organization. Like, how many of those guys are actually going to get the shot? Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you guys see a month ago the guy in the Pirates who has spent 10 years in the?
That's not an uncommon story.
And then he's 33 years old, and he got called up and played his first major league game this year, and he looks like you. He looks like a father of 3 in his 30s. Like, and he's playing his first major league game, and like it's obviously
baseball is a sport where you can do that, though.
Sure.
What would you put the timeline on a kid who comes out after college? How long can you spend in that feeder league before it's like, hey, man, it's just not happening for you? If the NFL is your ultimate goal, I'd say 2 years tops, right?
Yeah.
Which I would argue almost makes the NFL having a feeder league more important because.
Agreed.
Because you don't have as much opportunity. You have a very short window to really maximize, like you said. You need tape, or you need a fucking miracle.
Yeah, I mean, if you hit 30 in the NFL, you're a dinosaur. I mean, you're looked at as like the oldest guy in the room. So I mean, if you graduate in COVID year now, guys aren't leaving college till they're 24. Right. So if you're 24, you go through your rookie year, you're 25, you don't have anything, you play 26, 27. The chance of you getting into the league without having any experience at 26, 27 is drastically low. Drastically low.
Yeah. And you can forget about like getting your 10-year pension, all that shit. Like they might sign you for like, hey, this guy might have 1 or 2 good
You're hoping for practice squad and get elevated a few times, make $150K. Say you had the shield on your chest for a little bit and then figure out what's next in life. Go start a podcast or something.
You can always go start a podcast. That's for sure.
Fuck, man. I mean,
I want to circle back to the draft real quick.
Absolutely.
Tell me what it's like from the agent's perspective on draft day 1 through 3. So like you had one guy signed day 2 or drafted day 2, right? But he could have been a day 1 guy. So tell me what that's like.
For sure. Yeah. So John Michael Schmitz, the center out of Minnesota, was kind of our headliner this year for our class. And he was right on that fringe first round, like knew he was going in the second, but had a chance to sneak into the bottom of the first. So the whole pre-draft process, we're just trying to gather as much information as possible, right? Like as an agency, we're trying to talk to all the teams that like him, where they're at, what are they thinking, breaking down rosters. And then come draft night, like it's just a lot of hurry up and wait. You're looking at trades. You're looking, okay, I know that the Giants, for example, like we knew they needed a center. We knew they loved John Michael, and they were at pick 25. But we also knew the number 1 need that they needed was a corner. And so, like, all the way as we're watching, we're like, come on, more DBs, more DBs, more DBs. And as you found more DBs fall and fall and fall, you're like, ugh, like you needed a lot of things to go right for you to become a first rounder. Unless you're a top 15 pick, you need a lot of things to go right for you to actually become a first round pick.
Sure.
Ask Will Levis. right? Like,
Man, how bad does that feel, dude? Josh Jackson had the same experience a couple years ago, but he wasn't the quarterback, right?
Yep.
Like, that's tough.
Ask Porter Jr. I mean, you get invited, one of 17 players in the entire class, and you don't go. Like, it's just, you can't predict the NFL draft. It's the most unpredictable thing in the world.
I would never go. Obviously,
unless you're a top 10 pick. If you're a bona fide, if you're one of the top 2 quarterbacks, the number 1 running back, the number 1 offensive tackle, and like the number 1 edge rusher, sure.
And there's no videos of you bonging out of a fucking gas mask out there.
That was a toughie too, boys.
Yeah, I mean, granted, he only fell to 13th, but
and that boy's making money. It hadn't affected him really.
Gosh, dude. But yeah, I mean, think about like Lamar Jackson sitting there by himself, last one in the green room.
Yep.
Right. Like, it's one of those things like you don't want to go, So then second night we knew it was going to happen, but it was just like a waiting game. And we told John Mike, we're like, listen, there's going to be guys that get drafted in front of you that you're better than, but that's just what it is. It's just part of the NFL draft, And he was like, yeah, kind of, yeah, maybe. And then Joe Tippmann from Wisconsin gets drafted to the Jets in front of him. Steve Avila goes to the Rams, and he texts me. He's like, you're right. I'm pissed. I'm ready to go. I'm like, that's just what the NFL is, right? But that becomes, again, on my end of being an agent of creating realistic expectations. Like Will Levis, he's probably furious with his agent, right? Because
I'd have fired him, dude.
His agent's like, you're going 4th overall.
Agent got you sitting up there looking like a bozo. Fired before I even leave the green room.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of what our job is to create realistic expectations. But it goes back to my point of trying to understand these kids as far as if you don't tell them what they want to hear, they go into, well, why would I be with you? I'm supposed to be a first-round pick. Why am I? It's like, you're not going to be a first-round pick. Like, I'm doing my job, So
and it's not like you have agency over that, right? It's not. No, you have like no influence in where they're going to go.
I mean, unless you're what's his name, David Cantor, that is offering vacation homes. Did you guys see that story?
No.
There's an agent that's being investigated right now. It came out on Twitter yesterday. He's being investigated by the NFL by offering bribes to make teams draft his players by offering weekends at his vacation home. So that's a no-no.
Are the NFL organizations not paying their staff well enough that they can get bribed by a weekend vacation?
Dude, I don't know. I hope it's not true because that's just going to be a whole can of worms. But at the same time, like in this business, I could see it being true. And again, it's all allegations, but like I read that and I was like, I couldn't imagine calling an exec and being like, hey, listen, how do you feel about August 15th through the 17th? Boca Raton, Florida, all expenses paid. You guys just need my corner. Like, I couldn't imagine like the balls to even do that. Like, it's insanity to me.
Listen, there'll be a nice 5'4" blonde waiting on the couch.
Casting couch.
There's a bus out front that's going to pull up. Has BB on it. Anyways, so moving forward, like we knew it was going to happen in the second, so it's just a lot of waiting. Get him drafted, super excited. Everyone's pumped, right? You call him, you get calls from the team. What was really exciting for me is actually Brian Dable was my offensive coordinator in Buffalo. Bobby Johnson, who was the offensive line coach for Giants, was my offensive line coach in Buffalo. So it was just really cool to get to talk with them and kind of a full circle moment there of like, man, I played for you. Now I'm repping a guy that you just picked in the second, like super fun. And then day 3, we knew that our running back was going to go at one point, but we just kind of, again, Northwestern. So he was one of the 2 good players that were on Northwestern that year. So you had Peter Skoronsky and Evan Hall, and we got one of them. So he ended up going to the Colts in the 5th, and then the free agency frenzy started. And this is where, for me, agency's fun. This is where
that's probably where you make your money, right? That's where
correct.
Is late round. You're starting to talk about like, hey, your guy's probably not going right.
Mm-hmm.
6th, 7th round, you're like starting to do math. Okay, I got these guys probably aren't going to find a home before the end of the draft.
Yeah, I mean, and that's that's where having an agent that's a football guy really helps you. Because a lot of times you'll see guys like, wow, this guy signed for $40,000. Like, look how much they love him. It's like, yeah, but the roster situation is shit, right? Like, I do roster breakdowns for my offensive line. I'll just use them. I had 2 offensive line free agents this year. And I had a roster breakdown for every single team in the NFL for what that offensive line looked like. Not just from like a player's perspective, like, okay, starters, but like who's making the money? Who's safe? right? Like, okay, if they draft one guy, is the situation still good? If they draft two guys, is it now practice squad only? If they draft one, then the whole room's fucked and we're completely out.
So are you sitting right where you're sitting right now when all this happened, or do you have like your own war room where you've got up on the or a spreadsheet on your computer that you're updating with each team's picks to keep those situation like up to date even to the day? Like, oh, this team just drafted their offensive line looked great yesterday, but they drafted a guy, so now it doesn't look quite as good. So now I'm weighing it. Is that basically your process?
Yeah, 100%. So all three of us we have three partners. We all went up to Minneapolis. We got a suite at the Intercontinental right there by the airport, and we just made it exactly like you said, our war room. Right? My other partner had 3 free agents, and I had 2. And then our kind of senior partner, who was both of our agents, is kind of there helping us through the whole thing. And we have our full spreadsheets up, our whiteboard of, hey, okay, I have an offer from the Saints for this much for this player. What's his roster situation? Boom, boom, boom. Okay, that's not a great one. Okay, what do you got? You got something from the Lions? And you're just going back and forth. But at the same time, you can't get too cute because all of a sudden teams just evaporate, right? You're talking to a team for 3-4 times back and forth on the phone, and then you finally call them back. It rings, you get pushed. Shoot a text, no response, and you're like, okay, that team's over. They've moved on. Time to go to the next one, right? And you want to make sure it's a giant game of musical chairs at the end of the draft.
Wow,
that's giant game of musical chairs.
And it's happening
way
fast,
more fun
right?
than any fantasy draft you've ever.
Oh my gosh, it's so much more stressful, but also so much more fun.
Yeah. What is the time constraint on you get that first offer from one of your guys? How long do you think you usually have before that offer's gone?
2 to 3 minutes.
Oh, you're shitting me.
Yeah, because so here you got to look at it. So that's from the agent's perspective, from the team's perspective, right? So I'm the scout that's handling offensive line priority free agents for the Broncos. And I have my GM says, all right, we need 2 priority free agents. Here's our stack, right? Here's our guys that we want from priority of tier 1, tier 2, tier 2, 3. It's it's your job to get us the top 2 that you can. So say my guy is number 2 on the stack. They called number 1. He's not interested. He's going to weigh his options. They immediately go, okay, yeah, sure. Call me back. Cool. Click. Immediately call number 2. Right. And I don't know if I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in line. I don't know where I'm at. So hey, we really love your guy. We're willing to give you this much signing bonus, this much paragraph 5. What do you think? And in that moment, I have to be able to be split decision of do I take this deal? Do I say, hey, let me call you right back? Do I try and put this team on ice because I think I might be able to get some more money out of them? Do I want to try and leverage this offer from another offer with another team? And I've got about 2 or 3 minutes to be doing that while also balancing 2 guys, right? So I've got one guy that I'm doing that with and the other guy, and the phone's ringing. You're going text message back and forth. And
you also have to be coordinating with your client on this now too, right?
Yes and no. So what we do is we try and get our clients to sign us off on trust us that we're going to put you in the best situation. Right. And most of our clients do, because it's we tell them this exact story. If I say, hey, let me call my client, and I hang up the phone to them and I call you and we weigh it out for 2 or 3 minutes and say we want to pull the trigger on the deal, and then I call them back, they could be gone.
Jesus.
It could be over.
That's
right. And so
wild.
It's a little bit of back and forth, and you have to be comfortable with your client that they'll be willing to trust you to do that. And that just comes from the whole pre-draft process of have I ever led you astray yet? Right. Have I built the confidence that you trust me that I'm going to get you in the right situation?
And so the end call there becomes, hey, Johnny, you're going to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Wow.
The end call calls and be like, hey, buddy, you're going here. And then usually right after that, the team guys call them and be like, all right, when are you flying out?
And
right. It's so fast paced. And then by the end of it, I needed many, many drinks.
So what is how long before, draft ends and then boom, the phones are lighting up?
Yeah. I mean, it's very, very quick.
Are you guys having those conversations? Are you allowed to have those conversations before the draft ends?
I'm going to plead the fifth on that one.
There's some feelers out there.
Allegedly. You're not supposed to. I'm just going to leave it at that. It's not, but it is a bit of a gray area.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to, but at the same time, like I said, the music stops. You want to make sure you have a seat.
I think we've had plenty of guys come on the show and be like, yeah, so we're sitting there day 3 and I get a call and as a guy getting drafted, and they're like, hey, if you don't get drafted, we'd love to have you they're already setting that up.
Oh yeah. They recruit the kids hard. I mean, so we represent Adrian Martinez, quarterback in Nebraska, was at Kansas State. He was getting teams are now recruiting before the draft even begins. He was getting like hype videos sent to him, swag bags from like teams that are like, we've had this many undrafted free agents make our team, and like they recruit.
They're
Like,
recruiting. They're recruiting him
They're
as an
recruiting the
undrafted.
walk-ons.
They recruit undrafted free agents because they know
before
they're
they know that they're an undrafted free agent.
Yeah, because that's where they're at on their board.
Wow.
Right? Like on their board, they know they're not going to draft them. You know, and they always leave the teaser with, you know, maybe if things fall right, we might be able to grab you late in the 7th, you know, like, but they know that it's not a draftable player for them. But they love them and they think they have a chance to make their team, but they're just not willing to invest the signing bonus and the draft capital into that player. You know, so it's we always tell those guys, like, because they'll call us all excited, right? Like, I just got something from it, and we have to kind of, this is what the game is. Like, they're recruiting you. And also, we've had teams that have gone around us completely because, for example, 2 years ago, we had a player that Tampa Bay really wanted, right? They really wanted him, and they ended up drafting 2 of the guys in his position ahead of him, and then they still wanted to sign him as a free agent. And so we had basically, like, cut them off the board because, like, it's a terrible roster situation. And all of a sudden, he's getting calls from the OC. He's getting calls from the tight end coach. And they're like, no, we really, really want you. And he's like calling us. And we're like, tell them to call your agent. Like, if they there's a reason they're calling you and not us. Right? They want to get you to verbally agree to something. And then they're going to call us and be like, hey, we got him. Like, and teams will do that all the time. I had a guy from a team shot a text message to one of my linemen here. He was like, can't wait to make you a Cowboy. Can't wait to make you a Cowboy. And I was like, I haven't heard from them. They haven't called me once. Like, I don't know what he's talking about. Like, it's complete pandemonium. And it's just complete, like, all over the place. And all of a sudden it just stops. It's just over. And at that point, you're like, okay, do all my guys have homes? Do all my guys in good roster situations? Cool. Then that's a win. And that's luckily where we were at this year. You know, last year we had 2 guys that didn't get any calls, and that's a gut-wrenching feeling. Having to make that call to the player that, like, you can hear the dream die on the phone. You know, so we had a saying in the agency this year, you know, no shattered dreams in May, you know, and so that for us was the big thing this year. Everyone's going to get a chance. We're going to make sure that everyone has a home, and then the chips will fall where they fall because now it's on them to go make the team. But no shattered dreams in May was the big one for us this year.
So what is the time frame? All right, draft ends, last players announced, boom, phones start lighting up. How long before the game of musical chairs is over?
About an hour.
Holy shit.
About an hour in, all the roster spots are filled.
Hour in, everything's filled. And then now, if you don't have a player that's at that point, you're borrowing, stealing, calling every connect that you have, just begging for a mini camp in.
I remember when our draft went through and the next day came around, I was like, hey, maybe I'll get a call today.
Negative. That's contract review day.
Dumbass.
All the contracts are already sent over to us. We're already reading through them and signing them.
Can you give me an idea on 2 different things, numbers wise? Because I think I think a lot of people get interested. I'm confused because I never went through it. The 3 of us never went through it.
Yeah.
But now you're a part of it. You were a player, so you've seen multiple sides of this. What does a 7th rounder's money look like split into? How is it structured versus the top of the top undrafted free agents versus the lowest? Like, you're getting like 3 packs of bubble gum and 2 nights in a hotel. Like, what is the range of money there? We know, we hear about all the time the top stuff, right?
Yeah.
The top guys are signing for 15 million in the first round, and that's fucking absurd, and they are set for life. But what does like a bottom guy make versus the full range of undrafted free agents?
Yeah, you know, I think I don't have the number in front of me. I think the last pick in the draft signing bonus this year is like 120,000. Like 100.
Really?
Yeah, it's like 100. It might be. It's anywhere between $75,000 and $100,000 to sign.
That's better than I thought.
Right, and then they're going to make league minimum as every rookie makes, whether you're first round or last. You're going to make the same, which this year is 750.
Right.
So you make 750,000 in first year, and then it incrementally goes up. You know, from what we've seen in the free agent market, you know, so over the last 2 years, the free agent market has changed a little bit, where it used to be just signing bonuses, right? Like, you used to just be able to, like, hey, we're going to sign you for X amount of dollars and that's it. But what we've been able to do from an agency and an NFLPA standpoint is we've been able to get teams to what we call guaranteed P5. So P5 is paragraph 5 of your contract, which is your salary. It's the biggest part of your contract, right? That's the first thing you look at when you get a contract is what is my salary? And so what we're getting teams to do is like, hey, we'll give you $20,000 to sign, but we're going to guarantee $50,000 of your paragraph 5, which means now that player now has $70,000 in guarantees. And so what that's basically saying is anything under $100,000. So if you're on practice squad, it's $110,000 now for a full year. So what they're saying is like, we're basically guaranteeing that you're going to be on practice squad for half the year. Right. Or if you're not, and you're on someone else's practice squad, there's offsets in there where it's like, say we guaranteed you 50,000, we cut you, but you go to the Colts practice squad for the full year and make 110, then that is now offset on your guarantee. Right. So you have that.
Even
but
if they get cut, they're getting this.
Yep. And if they get cut, say they get cut, don't get picked up at all, they'll receive that lump sum at the end of the year.
Gotcha.
So they'll receive that. So you're seeing more of that, which is where you're seeing some guys like, there was a lot of guys this year that were like combine invite guys that went undrafted. You see a lot of those guys get like $225,000 P5 guaranteed, right? Jesus. And then you're telling them like, okay, he's going to probably make our active. Our board just didn't fall where it fell, right? Like, so you're seeing some of those, but I mean, you'll see signing bonuses range from, I think the average last year was about $11,000, about $11,000 to sign. And then P5 is anywhere from $5,000 to, I think the highest I saw this year was $250, somewhere in there. So it's just a lot of that is just fully dependent on the team. There's some teams that are just like, nope, we're not doing P5s, nothing, right? There's certain teams like, that's just not what we do, and sometimes they'll front load the signing bonus on that side too, but it's a huge range of what guys are, usually you see it's the receivers, DBs, offensive tackles that are the highest PFA numbers. Because those are the hardest things to find, and there's just never enough of them. If you're kind of a guard, center, running back, it's more on the low end because those positions have been really devalued in the NFL lately.
Long snapper on the rise.
Hey, man, I have a long snapper still. He's been grinding for a year, going to all the honor camps, like doing.
It's impossible.
It is just a grind session for him. I tip my hat to him because I would not be able to do it.
There's a couple guys who are still kind of in the pool of like XFL, CFL, like they're trying to hang around and wait for an opportunity. And they've probably they've probably been called in for workouts 12 times, 20 times, because we're 5 years out now. We'll be going into our 6th year, not in the program. And I went to the draft prep camps with them. They were in my class and they're still doing it. I'm like, dude, part of me is like, you got to hang it up. But the other part of me is also like, hey, man, chasing the dream. You're working at.
How long was Casey Kreider doing it?
He was only doing it for 2 years before he got picked up to an active roster.
Is that right? Oh, I thought
he was like the Cowboys were essentially just hanging on to him because they had a guy who was 12 years deep, and Casey was good enough to where they were like, hey, you're not going to make the roster until our vet is done. But when he is, you're our guy. And the Broncos snagged him before the guy in Dallas.
That's the thing. If you can get on as a snapper, any specialist really, like you can stick. Because you're cheap, especially if you're young, you're cheap. Yeah. And like if you're 10, once you hit like 8 years, your league minimum's enough where it's like you're making a big enough cap hit. It's like, why don't I go find a young player that can do this for cheap? Like he might not be as talented, but he's gonna be able to get the job done.
We just had in fact, the episode before you, 2 episodes before you, as far as how these are coming out. Our kicker from 2 years ago, Hawks kicker from 2 years ago, is going to be the front runner for the job in Tennessee because Randy Bullock got too expensive.
Yep.
So it's just like, it's so sick.
The cap casualties they're killers, man.
Yeah.
Not for long league.
Yes, absolutely.
Is that like something like a lot of vets worry about? Is like once they get up to that where like their minimum is significantly higher than like a rookie?
If you're not a starter, yeah. That's one thing. The new CBA. So the new CBA was collectively bargained, renegotiated in 2020, and what it really did was squeeze the middle class of the NFL. And I got out right before that happened, but I would have called myself the middle class. You know, like I'm a guy that I wasn't starting, so I wasn't making starter money, but I was a really solid backup. You know, I was a really solid backup. I could come in, I could spot start, I could play all 5 positions. But like as I would get older, my salary, they bumped minimum salaries. So my salary was going to be getting bigger and bigger, which is everyone thinks that's good, right? Like, oh man, it's a good thing. Players are getting more money, but they're going to look at me and go, okay, you're in year 6 or 7. So that means I got to pay you, I think it's 1.6, right? Like I got to pay you 1.6. But what if I just bring in a rookie or I draft a rookie in the 6th that I can develop that's going to only make 750? And I know that's not a huge number, right? That's $500,000, close to $1 million in there. But what it does is you get 4 or 5 of those guys on a team. Now you've just saved $5 million to the salary cap. So it squeezes that. So you're absolutely right, Kevin. It's going to squeeze that middle class of the NFL. And you're going to see a little bit of suffering for it just because guys' careers are going to end quicker than they should, just based off the fact that they're cap casualties, especially if they're on teams where you've got a quarterback on an absolutely mega $1 million deal. You got to save every penny that you can.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, cool. Like you're making more money on paper, but not if you get cut. You're making zero.
Correct. You're making
Yeah,
zero.
only if you sign the contract. I have 2 more money questions.
Love it.
I love money. Why the fuck am I podcasting? Who knows? Going all the way back, because I missed this part of the conversation, I'm sure. In the pre-draft process, you sign a guy, they're part of the Sirles Agency of Success, which I think you guys should rebrand to that name, by the way.
I like that.
Range of money spent from an agency on a guy, you know, who wants massages and dry needling and draft prep and all that. What's the low end? What's the high end? You don't have to tell me what you guys spend, but
right.
I'm sure you know, like, what have you heard? Because I'm sure there's some like pretty absurd shit going on.
Yeah, I mean, so the going rate for training, right? We'll start there, right? The pre-draft training is anywhere between $15,000 to $20,000 for 8 weeks, right? So you're talking about sending a guy to XPE in Florida or Sports Academy, or there's a million places, Landau, wherever, right?
Hold on for 1 second. Kevin and Drake, do you guys want to open up a draft prep?
Yes.
I mean,
strength and conditioning center.
You should.
Because the 3 of us know more than half of the guys doing it, guaranteed.
Yeah.
And we're hiring Coach Doyle to be our head man immediately.
Head man.
I think Doyle's got his own thing going for that.
And there's only white people allowed.
But why not be our head man?
Cut that.
It's a joke, Kevin. Come on.
Trying to get canceled, Tyler?
No, yes, I am. We've tried so many times. That's a joke, by the way, everybody.
That's the fun part about trying to get canceled. You just get more popular.
I love it.
Wow, 15 to 20.
Well, so that's just the training, right? So that's kind of like, okay, I know that I have to invest this in this guy so he can go run in the underwear Olympics and look pretty, right? Like that doesn't include most of these guys. So you got to fly them there. So you got to fly them. You got to put them up for 2 months in a hotel. You got to feed them, right? You got to feed them. You got to usually get them a rental car. And then sometimes you got to pay them.
You're paying every dollar of their life.
They're on full scholarship for 4 months.
Fuck.
Yeah, they're on full. I mean, that can range because, guys that are in the first round, some guys are getting 10 grand a month in stipend from agents.
As just extra money?
Just extra money.
So these guys are getting.
There's guys that are spending. There's guys that are spending anywhere. You can spend on a player anywhere between $15,000 to $200,000. It's an enormous range, right? Because it's such a competitive business. Like Kevin said, I think there's 785 around there registered NFL agents. There's only 1,500 active NFL players every year.
Yeah.
And we only get paid if they're on active. If they're on practice squad, that's a collectively bargained benefit. We do not get to charge for that.
Really?
Oh, really?
So you only get paid if you are on active roster. So that's when I say it's a higher form of gambling. Like, yeah, you're hoping to break even in 2 years.
I was about to say, what you're saying is that these guys who are trying to pay the top dollar for the top dogs in, $250,000 for 4 months,
he's playing for second contract money.
100%.
He's not even playing for them getting drafted in the first round. He's playing for their second contract.
100%. I call it the bus theory. You're praying that they don't get hit by a bus, right? You are, because like you're just like you're praying they don't get hit by a bus and they're going to make it to their second contract, and that's when you can try and you can ring the cash register at that point.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
That's why you're in this. That's why you're trying to go. But I mean, we're in a starter agency. Like we're in a cash burn phase right now as an agency. That's just how you get into this business.
And I was just going to add, that brings me perfectly into the second part of this and my last question, so that you can get some sleep, because I know it's important for Daddy. You as an agent are only making money from the percentage you get of your guys' contract.
Correct.
That's.
I mean with
now,
marketing agreements, you have marketing agreements.
Okay.
Right. So like that's another part of being an agent is marketing agreements, and those range anywhere between about 10 and 20% on marketing deals. But if your name's not Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers or
Sure.
like the marketing's dimes to a dollar type of thing.
Sure.
I mean, as an agent, you're really trying to say, I want to prepare you the best I can to be the best football player you can, so that you can perform between the white lines, so I can negotiate you a monster second contract.
Wow.
Like that's kind of the lifespan of what it's why you see so many people get into the agent's game and be bankrupt in 2 years and drop out as fast as they were in.
Yeah.
Like, because if you try and be like, I'm going to sign a bunch of players, and you go sign them and you put $100,000 in, and all of a sudden you have one guy that makes it and he makes it on active for 2 years, you're still not going to make that money back. Like,
do you see a lot of agents have other gigs?
Some do, but we use that a little bit as a kind of a torpedo list for us, where it's like, hey, if you're talking to another agent that has another side gig, that means he's not fully invested in this.
Yeah.
Right. That means he's not going to be there for you. If he's a lawyer, right? A lot of agents are lawyers. It's like, if he's got a litigation case, you think he's going to pick up the phone for you, or is he going to be picking up that he's billing that guy $550 an hour on the other end?
No.
So we that's what I tell recruits. Like, hey, this is how I put food on my table. This is how I support my family. Like, I'm all into this with you. And I think that's really important too, because you want to have, things happen. You get calls. You got to be there. You got to be ready to get any day and night, be ready to go to help these kids with whatever they need.
Wow.
How's new dad life for you? We haven't talked since the kiddo life. How are things?
Yeah, a lot of advancements and progressions in the life. New dad life is fantastic. I am.
Are you getting better at being a dad yet?
No. I am blessed. I don't like using the word blessed. I'm fortunate.
Blessed.
Yeah, hashtag blessed. I'm fortunate that this job being half of what I do, and the other half of what I do also being from home and completely on my own schedule, allowed me to. I've basically been on 5 months of paternal time off, paternity leave. And our baby girl is like the most perfect child in all senses. Not in like I love them, they're so perfect. In like at 30 days old, she slept through the night for the first time. And when I say there has not been a single night where she has woken up until the morning, 4 months straight of just 10 hours straight of sleep.
Count your blessings, young man.
Yeah, I know. We're fucked for the next kid.
I paid for the sins in my second child. My third child's like that. He goes to bed at 7:30. He wakes up at 4. Mom feeds him. He goes back down to like 7.
Yep.
It's like cheating.
Cheating.
My second child did not sleep through the night for her entire first year of life, and it was just
I've heard of multiple.
atrocious.
Yeah, we have obviously friends who all have kids, and it's like, it's just hit or miss with every single one. You're just playing Russian roulette. But yeah, she's perfect, and it's amazing. We literally look at each other all the time, and it's just like, I feel like this isn't that hard, like it's
Wait
so
till you have a second. You'll be amazed how hard you thought one was.
Yeah, I know. But life is incredible. Another thing that has happened, not in just my personal life, but in the walk-on's life, is we've upgraded to the point where we have an intern that we don't pay, who's been sitting.
Awesome.
Yeah, and he's been sitting on the back end of this. Grant, come in.
Come here, Grant. Show yourself.
There he is.
What's going on?
This is our child labor that we hired from the University of Iowa.
It looks like G-Bone might be back in Colorado right now.
Did G-Bone get
back in Colorado.
haircut there?
Yeah.
Colorado boy, where are you from? I'm from there originally.
I live in Lone Tree.
Oh, nice. I was Lakewood my whole.
Lone Tree's between Muscatine and Iowa City.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh yeah, there is that one too. I did. Funny you mentioned Colorado though, because I did have a question for you. Are you the best Bear Creek High School athlete of all time?
Yes, by far.
No doubt.
No, there's no doubt. The only other one that could maybe is Adeline Gray, who is an Olympic medalist in wrestling, and we were actually the same class. So
What
her
what
and
kind
I-
of medal though? Like bronze?
Silver.
Silver?
I mean, she beats the shit out of you, dude.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
she's an Olympic medalist. I'm an NFL football player. It's tomato.
Yeah.
I don't
That
know.
is fun.
I think
Any-
it's close though. It's close.
Grant, any other questions for the men, Jay? I know we didn't really prep you on who Jeremiah is or
Well, I'm a little curious on Nebraska since you live and breathe them. So I'm looking like on FanDuel season win total is like 6.5. What's the expectation with Rule year one? Like, does he need to exceed that? Does he need what does a successful first season look like for Rule?
I think if we get 5 wins this year, it's a big win.
5 wins? That's what Nebraska is at now.
I would agree. It's year one. I would
It's
agree
year
with
one,
that.
dude. People have to understand. Like this is
It's
year
been
one.
year one since you guys fired Bo Pelini.
I
Facts.
don't disagree with you. I don't. And you know, I think that there's a lot of people here. I saw something that came out that was like, we're gonna win 9 games, and it's just
Yeah, Will Compton said it.
yeah. Will says a lot of things.
Compton's
You gotta
fucking
tell
hilarious.
Will to shut his
Will
stupid ass up.
Will says a lot of things.
Hey, hopefully the Bussins at tight end U, we could tell him to shut his ugly ass up in person.
Well, what we're
Listen,
gonna
once he
tell
got
him
his new
is that-
teeth, he became a different person.
Hey,
You're
no, but what Will forgets, and we have receipts and elephant memories, is that he owes us one.
That's facts. He said he would do our show.
If we got George to
Oh.
do his, he would do ours.
Yeah.
He'll do it. You just got to get out to him, reach out to him. He'll do it. I
We're-
bet you he would.
We're going to tight end U. Like we're also
Oh,
that,
awesome.
Yeah, we're big time. We got invited. George is having us out to his place, and then I don't know what kind of access we have to the actual tight end U event, but we're basically going to stick a microphone in every NFL player's face
As
that
you
we can.
should. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that'll be awesome. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're excited. But
No, I think Grant 5 wins. I think for us, you shred we lost a lot of players to the portal, which is to be expected with the new coach. We got a quarterback change. This 3-3-5 defense, I'm somewhat a fan of, somewhat not a fan of. It's going to be a feast or famine type thing. But at the end of the day, we have to just get dudes. You don't win games with scheme. You don't win games with great coaching. You win games with great players. And I think Nebraska we're trying to recruit and find good players and build a program that's just going to be consistent, because you can't win college football unless you have a consistent in-house program.
Yeah, and I get the year one, like it's 5 wins makes sense. Like people are ready to jump down like Deion's throat if he doesn't get like to an 8-win season. It's like it's year one, right?
Well, don't walk in and be as big as life as Deion is and not expect to have unrealistic expectations put on you with your Louis luggage.
Louis,
I saw a crazy stat that at plus 25,000, Colorado is the biggest liability for Las Vegas sports books because
They have like
everyone
8%
money
of all
on Deion.
future bets.
Yeah.
So
Really?
insane.
Of any bet that's available in all of Vegas?
Colorado winning the national championship is the biggest liability for Vegas sports.
There's no chance.
I would.
Of course
That's a
there's no
bet.
chance,
That
but
is a.
It's just if it happens.
Yeah, I would mortgage my house.
I was just gonna
That's
say
not gonna happen.
I'd put everything I own on the fact that the field wins and Colorado doesn't.
Strictly because also it's the Pac-10 or Pac-12, whatever it is. Like they haven't
Sure.
even had a team make the playoff yet.
Yeah, true.
Like the Pac-12 is the worst conference in football.
But can we say that Deion Sanders has been the biggest come up in Colorado, the University of Colorado history?
Oh, easily.
For
I mean,
anything.
to sell what they've done and to make the money that they have, and they haven't even played a real game yet. Now, granted, I'm seeing a lot of like the Deion effect, where like everyone's now saying his son's gonna be like a top 10 pick and all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, let's pedal the brakes here a little bit.
Hey,
Like,
maybe
I was gonna say
Stop.
maybe if you're his agent.
the agency's got to go chase Shadur. Shadur is his name.
I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. You kidding me? You have Deion as the dad just in your ear the whole time. I'm like, what do you do? Who are you talking to? I can talk to them. No, thanks. Hard pass. I try and avoid all former players like kids. That's just a recipe for disaster.
Speaking of people you don't want to represent, say you're Ja Morant's agent right now. What are you doing?
You quit.
I
You
mean,
go flash a gun at him.
You're fucking pissed because he's costing you hella money.
Yeah, the agent side of it, you're just like, listen, the league's gonna fine you, probably suspend you. Might want to stop doing that. His publicist, on the other hand, whoever manages his publicity and is like, that person hasn't slept in weeks. that person just wakes up every day and is terrified to unlock their phone. Like, just terrified to just press that little button as we all do in the morning and just look and see what shit show have I woken up to today.
Oh, shit. That's amazing.
I mean, that's like Aaron Rodgers too. Like the whole Aaron Rodgers thing going to the Jets. Like, some of those guys are just, I couldn't imagine the headaches that comes with.
I would take the headaches to be a Rodgers agent.
Yeah, probably. I mean, except for you can't reach him when he's in his darkness retreat or
Don't
whatever
care.
that was.
Could
you ever do that? Could you ever do that? Could you ever lock yourself in a dark room for 3 days?
3 days? Probably not. A day?
No.
Probably.
I'd make it 30 minutes.
I'm kind of into that shit, but
no.
Not Aaron Rodgers into it.
Drake, could you do it? You're looking at me funny.
I doubt it. I'm thinking about it. I think of myself. I fancy myself a guy that with some mental toughness. I don't think I could do it.
I don't need to be alone with my own thoughts.
Drake. I was just gonna say Drake alone in his own head.
At that point, it's not even mental toughness. It's just psychosis.
Whatever retreat he's at, better bring the SWAT team and stake him outside the room that Drake's in.
Padded walls.
Some shit is going to go down if Drake has to deal with all the stuff rattling around.
I come out of that room like fucking Mussolini.
What does that even mean?
I don't know, but the joke was good, right?
He'd have the next great idea for the cleansing, apparently.
Jesus Christ. Sirles, you're Sirles, you're your favorite guest on the show.
Dude, I love it. Anytime I get the invite, I'm always here. Anytime I can.
We'll try to get some offensive linemen from the University of Iowa camp next time.
Could you get some linemen
they
going
can use a
for
little
me
extra
there?
coaching.
When is Iowa? Is it in Kinnick this year?
Yeah.
Iowa, Nebraska?
Nebraska. No, it's in Nebraska.
Was it in Lincoln this year?
You guys beat us in Kinnick last year?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
The odd years are in Nebraska Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you boys make it up for a game, love to have you. I'll see if I can show you what a real university looks like. Give you the ins and outs, all that fun stuff.
Okay, yeah.
I had to sneak one in there. Listen, I had to sneak one in there. Okay,
sure. And at the beginning,
we're gonna bring our corn though. Okay.
No, you guys' corn is ass.
And our hogs and our beef.
Well,
and our players.
You can leave that trophy right where it is.
You probably want our coaches too at this point.
I don't know. That trophy's pretty nestled right where it needs to be.
Guy wins once in a decade. I swear to God.
Hey man.
One concussion.
What have you done for me lately, Drake?
One concussion. He's going off and talking shit.
You boys are amazing. Always great to be here.
Thanks, Jay. Appreciate everybody listening to the show as always. If you know an NFL player 10 years down the road that has talent.
Can I shameless plug real quick?
Yeah, plug it.
So I've actually started a new podcast with 10-year NFL vet Alex Boone. It's called the O-Line Committee. We record, we break down NFL film. We just launched a couple weeks ago on YouTube and Apple. So check it out if you want to. Go like, subscribe. We're looking at what it looks like to look at a game from an O-line's perspective, looking at defenses too high, all that fun stuff. So been pretty successful so far. So we're loving it. So if you like all things O-line, go check out the O-line Committee on YouTube.
O-line Committee. Let's go.
There we go. And that's it. We'll talk to you next time. Hope you enjoyed this one. Have a good one. Peace.
Peace.